Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Raby, a professional pick and mixer. I'm a personal brand coach, a speaker, an actor, a creator, and a podcaster. I'm on a mission to help you find and create your version of success. Your pick and mix of life and business on your terms. A blend that complements your personality, your goals, and your circumstances. Since 2018, I've been sharing interviews and mini episodes to help you unlock your next step, to make it real and make it happen. Round here, we dream big. We go for the ideal version. We talk about money and make moves our future selves would be proud of. This podcast is free and available for you whenever you need it. So do rate, review, and subscribe for new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices and availability, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, it's Nicky and welcome back to a brand new interview. Today I am sharing my interview with Kayla Daniels, who is a nutritional therapist. Today we're talking a lot about food, but not just what tastes nice to eat, because obviously I'm there for all of those conversations, but also what makes us feel good. I know as a woman in her 40s, I am seeking out lots of things from food at the moment: energy, vitality, balancing hormones, skin changes, perimenopausal, all of the above. So there'll be lots of great takeaway tips today, but also we talk a lot about life changes. So Kayla shares about how she navigated, and you'll hear this word navigation a lot because it's quite something to retrain once you become a mum. Once you are at a point in your life where you feel like it's really full, you feel like it's busy, but you know that you have to make short-term change for long-term transformation. I hope you enjoyed today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, to the podcast, please do. It really helps share these stories and get them out and about to the people that need them. Thank you so much. Here's my interview. I hope you enjoy it. Kayla, welcome to the podcast. I am so delighted that you're here. Tell everybody about yourself, what you do, and you've been on quite a journey. I'll leave that question open to interpretation of how you want to answer it.
Okay, I guess, yeah. So in the world, I guess it all started with the world of Instagram about, I want to say 8 years ago. And essentially I started off my Instagram journey with, I became a mom. I was a bit isolated in the area that I just moved into, didn't have any friends here. I was one of the first to have a baby. And essentially, I just decided that I was going to start doing events for moms in the area because it was all happening in London and not really much happening in Birmingham. And then along with that, I started sort of doing slogan T-shirts, but it really became about the events towards the end. And then my third baby, I decided to, I think, pack it in. My passion wasn't there, not for the event. The events was always there, that my passion for that and my love for it. But the sort of T-shirt and stuff like that. And I just thought, you know what, I just want to focus. I knew that Raf was going to be my last baby. And I was like, right, I just want to focus on him. But in the midst of between first baby and third baby, I started to get a love and a passion for nutrition because it really helped me with my postnatal depression with my first child. So I don't know how much or whatever detail you want, but essentially then I decided that I was going to leave teaching when I was pregnant with Raf, because I was a teacher. I was a secondary school teacher for 8 years, and then I was like, you know what, I really want to start a new career, and I was a little bit unsure as to what was that going to look like, and I remember doing like a mind map and writing down all the things I was interested in. And going, right, okay, where would I want to enjoy this next part of my sort of career? Because even though teaching brought me my husband and we met through that, I was never really, really happy in those 8 years. I
Yeah.
sort of was just pushing myself along to do it. I just kept on getting drawn back to nutrition, like just kept on going back to it. But I knew that that would mean that I'd have to go back to school, essentially.
Yes. And those moments where you sit with yourself of saying, it looks good on paper, and now I have about to have 3 children, and I'm, you know, all of those sort of sensible things. And then there's that moment, but my heart's not in it. And so therefore, what does that mean? And I often feel like it's one of those never ending past the parcels where you just begin to ask more questions, looking for more answers, and then you get more questions and all of that. So once you had decided about the nutrition, where did you go next? And I guess for lots of people who listen, and maybe certainly at this time, people are thinking about, what does the next career chapter look like? What does the next life chapter need? Because I think our circumstances change so much, and mine are 3 and 7 now, and suddenly they're going to be going to school, and you're like, okay, what does that mean? What does that bring with it? So how did you move into that headspace of making the decision to retrain, and secondly, thinking about what that would look and feel like logistically and mentally and physically and spiritually and all of that?
Yeah, it was a lot. I think that I'm quite an impulsive person. I've really realized this in this last year. And even though I'd been, you know, it'd been coming to me, because I remember saying to my husband when I first you know, looked at food for my own personal like self, my own use, I was like, I think I want to be a nutritionist. And he came back, this is like when I was in my first maternity year, and he was like, no, because we need money,
Yes.
you know, and whatever. So, and I kept on sort of like doing that. But when it actually came to it, and I was like, I want to do nutrition, and I was thinking, and I was looking at the courses, I literally made the decision within half an hour. Like that was how, because I just was like, if I think about this too much, I'm going to talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like I said, I'm quite impulsive at times. And I think, you know, people would go, oh no, I'd have to rethink about it. I have to think about finances. You know, there's some of my friends that are very like, have a spreadsheet for everything. And I've just never been like that. I should adopt some of their skills.
My next decade. That's who I am. Yeah, totally.
But I remember, and then Sam was like, okay, you might as well, because you've got Raf. He's not even a year old. You might as well, because you know, we're not going to be able to afford 2 kids in childcare. So this was the thing. It slotted in quite nicely because of the fact that if I was to go back to work, we'd have had to, because there was such a small age gap between my second and my third, we would have had to find something like $2,000 at the time, which it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why it pushed me. I thought, well, you know what, why not? And the thing was, even though I didn't have like, let's say $10,000 for the course, my lovely, beautiful mother said, look, Kayla, I will give you the money and you can pay me back. And I'm still paying her back. Like literally, I have like a standing order.
Yeah.
I'm still paying her back. And, you know, by the grace of God and the blessing of that, she paid for the course, and I was able to do it. So, and then that just meant that whenever I started earning, I would start paying her back then.
And that makes me emotional, because your mummy is seeing you of how you would be a mummy. Like, because you can see, I think also as a woman, you can see what that journey is. And in that short term, it's hard and it's intense. And I feel like that with parenting sometimes, where I'm like, no, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick to my guns, and it's absolutely fine. And then, you know, in the long term, where you see that you get the rewards in a different way, it's kind of worth it. And I think there's always this chat about, in self-development, of like, just make the investment. And actually the money bit of it, it's not always the easiest, because we have to find those finances. And I know that sometimes when I've signed up for courses, I've made the payment, but I've had one eye closed, because I can't bear to make it real. But it's all of that conversation around it of making it make sense. But if you can listen, like, ultimately, I know this is going to be the right thing. It's going to be a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you signed up, and then were you thinking, how am I going to slot this very not so small thing into the rest of my life? How did you get really organized with doing that? And was it just a case of looking at the pick and mix of your life, going, right, that's got to go out and I'll see you in 3 years? Or how did you manage that?
It sort of became that. And also, remember, COVID actually was in the midst of it. So I started the course in September in the 2019. And obviously we went into lockdown in the March 2020. So I had 6 months of doing the course, going in to uni and going in and having all day Saturday. It was weekend only. There was different ways you could have done it. And I thought, well, I can't do the week. So I opted for the weekend option. So we were there every Saturday from 9 till 6 and then Sunday. And then it was the first year was just one sort of Sunday every 3 weeks, I believe. And then the second and third year was every other week. So I decided to do that. And then obviously what I would do is we would put me and my husband Sam would put all the babies to bed, and then I would work from 7 till 10:30 every night. Every night, pretty much. I might have given myself one night off. Now, because I didn't have a science background, I was when I tell you I was rubbish at science back in school, I was rubbish at science, yeah. And I can't believe that people couldn't believe, that I was signing up for this sciencey course, because we had to do biomedicine for the first year just to get like a basic understanding of like how cellular function, so it was just, and also the medical names for things, so that first year my brain, it was really good, because I felt like I was challenging a part of my brain that I never had before. And actually I remember getting really hungry at night, because I'd be really concentrating for 3 hours and like wanting a snack at like 10 o'clock before I used to go to bed,
And then watch cartoons.
Yeah. And that is how I live my life. And we would allow ourselves, Sam and I, maybe a night on a Friday or a Saturday just to chill and watch something. And then I guess with the lockdown, it became easy, because we were so segregated from our friends that I could just basically watch. And basically I could just focus. Yeah. So can you see that, my pop-ups? No?
No.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Sorry. But so essentially that was easy. What became really hard was the last year, because I had become, I'm 2 years older, the kids are older, they're going to clubs and God knows what, and we're like taxi drivers for them. And I found it really hard. I felt like I didn't do anything with, not obviously I was studying, but I felt like for 2 years my life was on hold. But I guess everyone felt like that with COVID anyway. And I just felt like I wasn't doing anything with my life. All I was doing was sleeping, being a mom, studying. So by the 3rd year, I felt really broken, to be quite honest with you. And I just was like, I need, after this, to really reconnect with friends, really make an effort to do things, go for weekends away and stuff like that, because I just felt it was hard. 3 years was hard. And I don't think when I signed up that day, in that sort of like that moment, go, I'm just going to do it. I never thought about that,
Yeah. And I think all of those lockdowns and managing all of those things that not only ourselves have needed over the last few years, but also our children have from us. And I do remember that with Luna at some point, one of the lockdowns, I was like, why is this so much harder? And then it suddenly dawned on me, oh, she can move. That's why. So before, she was a dinky baby, just, hanging in a playmat or a chair. And then the next thing, she's like banging on the door. And you're like, okay, that's what it is. So now you're qualified, you've completed the circle. Also, as well, I was just going to say about when you're in that headspace of like, I've just got to get this thing done, it's really it's tricky because focus is so celebrated in our life, isn't it? It's just like, oh wow, you're doing this and you're a mum and all of that, but underneath things, I think it's really great to be honest, because it's really hard and it's quite dark and isolating during those times, because I remember with my coaching qualification, I was like, but I'm the one getting up at 5 to do it. Great that you high-five me on social media, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So when you're at this point, you're good to go, you're seeing clients. How was that transition from training to being live, being paid, all of that great stuff?
I think, you know what, there's a couple of organizations that do the course. So you have Ion in London, and you have C&M, and C&M is who I trained with, and then obviously people then do it degree. Now what I've got is a diploma, so I obviously went to university, did my degree, my teaching PGCE, but this is a diploma. Now I could potentially do 9 more months to make it into a degree. So I have got that option, which I might do a little bit later on, because it would be really nice to say, yes, oh, I've got 2 degrees and I'm in nutrition and that. But it, you know, I found with the C&M, from what I've heard from other people, C&M really sets you up, because we do 200 clinical hours. So it sets you up to be seeing clients face to face, so that actually when you do finish, you're not scared to see clients. Yeah. Now, I studied with a group of lovely and beautiful people, and we all range from 19 to 60. Right, that's what the beauty of the course was, you know. I just loved it, and everyone was on their own journey. And so sorry, I'm just sending my husband to voicemail because I'm doing this on my phone. And he never calls me in the day. He's obviously concerned that when I fell last night.
No, it's over. That's it.
But no, so we had a lovely group on the course, and we're all on our different journeys. I have to say, I probably am. There's a few of us that are more confident than others seeing people, and I don't know whether that's because it's my teaching experience, because I was standing in front of 30 kids 5 hours a day.
Yes.
I've also had to stand in front of staff at like meetings. And I think because I've had that type of experience before, I don't find it nerve-wracking talking to people one-on-one, or standing in front of people in a room, as long as I'm comfortable with what I'm talking about. I'm not. But so that
dinosaurs or the periodic table. Oh, you'd be good with the periodic table. Now you are.
We looked at that. I'm not memorizing that. But yeah, we had to look at it. But yeah, so that transition for me, it was absolute, like, that was been fine, and seeing clients and doing this whole Zoom thing, and as we're now in the Zoom world and stuff. But what I would say is that you always get a feeling whether I'm going to be good enough for that person, and you get imposter syndrome. And also bearing in mind, because nutrition now has become such a big thing the last 2 years, okay, you have doctors on Instagram, you have people who have got PhDs coming out of their ears, and you do sometimes feel like, oh, because I haven't got about 9 years of training experience in the field or something like that, or I'm not a Tim Spector or whatever, you think, am I not going to be able to help people? Do I need to know all this information? Do I need to know every medication out there? The answer is no, you don't. Because actually, when you talk to a person and you delve right into their medical history, and you sort of look at signs and symptoms and how they're living their life, my course has set me up to go right and ask the right questions. It set me up to go, okay, I think I can help you. Yeah. And I'm very honest. So this one person came to me, and she had multiple, things going on, bless her. And I just thought, no, I don't think I'm ready yet for a case like that. And I sent it to one of my tutors, actually, who's amazing. So I will be honest and think, okay, no, I don't think I'm the best person for you,
Yeah, and I think that imposter syndrome is always a sign that you really care about what it is that you do. And certainly one thing I felt the same with my coaching, like, well, how I don't have an island and a yacht and like 40 multi-million-pound businesses. Can I still be the person who can help this person? But sometimes I feel like something like nutrition or tax or estate agents or even business support, sometimes those things they have to be delivered by the right person. And it's funny you say about science. I had a teacher in year 9 who suddenly made it click for me. I was like, oh, there we go. I sort of understand it a little bit more now. And I'm sure that lots of people will have that connection with you and feel safe to say, here's my health, here's my journey, and we might talk about poo, and I feel a bit embarrassed about that, and there's something that's happened 10 years ago that I haven't really told. There's all of those sorts of things. And so
Yeah.
it's about creating that space for people. So what are you finding lots of people are chatting about a lot, and where are you feeling like you want to place your work? Where do you want to I guess what's your ideal client? But that's very sort of spreadsheety. But like, what are people coming up with again and again for you?
It's, I was actually going to do like a little story on this, because I just wanted to let people know what I've seen so far in clinic. So it's been a mixture of gut health,
Yeah,
hormones like PCOS, bad period,
I feel like I should take notes. Yes, tick, yes.
PMS,
Mm-hmm.
brain fog, anxiety, depression. What else? Potential. This woman's had a lot going on, but she potential mycotoxins, so mold, and it affecting her health systemically. What else? And I think that's it. But yeah, a lot of gut issues, So I've done a lot of stool tests recently when people have just been really exhausted because they've done the whole doctor, GP options, and they've come to sort of a bit of a dead end. Yes. And then they will come to me and go, look, I think I need to approach it differently. And then, sometimes I say, okay, well, I think maybe a comprehensive stool test might be good to really look at the balance of the bacteria in there. And I saw a little girl, actually. Obviously, I was talking to her mum, but I saw a little girl who has been poorly for years, not very well, being sick and constantly having these sort of bouts of sort of bad tummies. And we did a private stool test, and we had found a really nasty bacteria that just shouldn't be there, and it needed antibiotics, but it needed a particular set of antibiotics that can attack it, because sometimes these bacteria can create a biofilm around it, because they're protecting itself from the antibiotic. They can get quite clever. So certain antibiotics might work for certain strains. So anyway, she went to the doctor. The doctor was really understanding, and I love it when I get a real open-minded, understanding doctor. And gave her the antibiotics, and along with food and everything, she's feeling better.
I mean, say fairer than that, can't you? It's just and that's when the kind of, when you see it, the solutions and what you offer actually working in a tangible situation, it's amazing. How have you navigated this, as we mentioned, like being on Instagram and the perfection of what people do? There's all these, what I eat in a day, and how I guess organized people are. People are really organized with everything looking quite perfect. And I am somebody that likes healthy food. I like to feel good. I like to and I know when I'm not. I know what it's like to feel good, so I try and seek it out. But sometimes the perfection of Instagram can feel like, oh wow, I thought I was just having a couple of apples a day, and I thought I was doing well with my 5 a day, and how and now it's 10 a day, and what else do I need to be doing? So how have you found sharing content, sharing information, so you can find that sweet spot between, I'm going to give you lots and lots of tools, but making it manageable for people as well, so they actually do the thing?
It's really hard, because I do get a lot of DMs saying, can I take this? Can I take this probiotic? Can I take this supplement? And we are still in the mindset of a pill for an ill. We're still like, we're just wired. I think it's because we're trying to come out of it, aren't we? Yes. I think from COVID, especially. and people being more conscious of their health. But you do still get that. And I try to say, okay, yeah, like, magnesium, I probably give to most of my clients because they're in need of it. But, I feel when I say to them, it's really personal to you, they get a bit, but it genuinely is. I don't know. I think when I was training, I felt like I had to prove myself a lot because I was doing this course and I'd be like, okay, and I'd be replying back. And then now I'm a little bit more, look, I don't know what your history is. I don't know what medication you're on. I don't know what life experiences you've been through, because sometimes you find that some life experiences can be one of the triggering factors for whatever's going on in them.
Yes.
So I am a bit like, look, it really is just personal. So, people who, I saw a client the other day that they said, I'm a vegetarian. No, I'm a pescatarian, sorry. And I've stopped eating meat 2 years ago. And I said, okay, how come you stopped eating meat and I've asked, and she said, oh, because for health, it started off with health reasons first. And now I just don't want to kill animals, and agriculture. But it's funny because some people will have this deteriorate or have this health picture where they're not very healthy and that things are going wrong, they're lacking energy, but they don't want, and I can understand it, I can understand some foods for thought, I can understand the thought behind it, but they can't see that actually maybe because they've stopped eating meat or they've stopped eating, that they are struggling. Now, fine, if you're saying it from I love animals and I don't want to do that, I completely get that. But then sometimes you have to go, okay, if it's not because of the animal situation and it's a health situation, you're saying that eating meat is really unhealthy for you. Well, what evidence are you looking at? Because there's loads of evidence now that's saying that actually, but however, I saw a post the other day and it says something like, for millions of years, we've been eating protein and now protein's bad for us. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, so there's so many opinions and people get so passionate about it. So I try not to get involved in those conversations.
And you have to make it work for your lifestyle. I know there's so many benefits to fasting. People talk about intermittent fasting.
Yeah, but not for everybody.
I love that. For me, and I'm like my Granny Olive here, where I'm just like, I love the whole ritual of making my breakfast, and I have 2 cups of tea. It's a whole big thing, and it helps me to think clearly in the morning. And but then maybe I don't eat so much in the night. So yeah, you're so right. It has to work for people.
Has to work and definitely be individual. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, I don't like to get into those conversations because people get very passionate about it and they get very holier than thou. And I'm just like, well, really, let's just have a conversation about your whole health and when you were born, and let's talk then.
Yes.
And I guess, there's some people I know, a couple of my friends, my nutrition friends, have said I've had a couple of clients who have said that they've been vegan or veggie or whatever, and they're now introducing a few animal products back into their diet and they want help with it. So you do get people sort of doing, a whole 180. But the thing is, I think for somebody, you could thrive off a vegan diet or a pescatarian diet, and then someone will thrive off being an omnivore or a carnivore, so that's how I navigate that.
Yeah. And so if people are looking and they're like, ooh, this feels like I want to delve in deeper, what are some of the questions I guess maybe they should begin to think about before approaching somebody like you? And what's useful for you to know about their health, about what they need? Is there a sort of a check? For example, I had to hire, which is a completely different thing, but I had to hire a structural engineer about a year ago, and I literally had no idea what I was looking for. I was just like, structural engineer, typing it in. And because I guess the jargon of the website it was almost like a structural engineer boys club, where the jargon was so for other people. And I really think about that in terms of coaching, making sure that I'm not just writing about coaching stuff for other coaches, that it has to be relatable. So I guess for other people, what process should they go through and before contacting you, for example?
Well, it depends because people come at different stages. Normally, nutritionists are normally the last port of call, actually, for
Right.
many people. They do the whole GP thing, which is fine because, they, as nutritionists, we don't treat, we don't diagnose, we support. So, if you're looking for someone to treat you, you're looking for diagnosis, you're looking for medication, then you obviously go to your GP. But so some people might have gone to the GP and done this for months or years, and then they go, right, okay, I think I need to see a nutritionist and look at it this holistically. Some people go, no, I'm just going to go straight to a nutritionist.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, from what I've seen, I'm pretty much they've done the whole GP thing and they've come to me at the end. And what I asked them, okay, first of all, what's going on? Like, just tell me why you've called me. Okay. Yeah. And then second, I'm like, okay, well, what's your aim? Okay, my aim is to not be in pain for, 24/7. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And or my aim is to not go to the toilet 5 times a day.
Yes.
Something along those lines. Okay. So I'll say, okay, what your aim is. And then, I'll talk about obviously what I could potentially do for them in the sense that, I'll look at your medical history, I'll go back. And it's always important for me to go back about how were they born? Were they breastfed? Were they bottled? Did they have any trauma? I like to sort of look at that because I want to understand the person in front of me. Yes. And what makes up that person right now, and then we'll talk, like if I could send them forms, for example, I'll go, right, let's focus on 2 things that you want to focus on. Sometimes it's just one, but I'll say 2 symptoms that's really getting to you. How long have you had them? I rank it from like 1 to 10, 10 being the worst thing, and how long it's been going on. And then we'll go back we start from there. And then I'll sort of be like a little investigator and I'll go, okay, well, when this happened, what was going on in your life at that point? Ooh. Oh, I was moving house, or I just lost my mom, or, me and my best friend had an argument, or I'd gone on holiday and I ate something and I got really sick and I've never been right since.
Yes.
It's like that. It's basically a lot of my hour and a half of the initial appointment that I do is I basically just act like a little investigator, and they're sort of looking at me sometimes going, why is she asking me that?
I don't know what I was doing when I was there.
Yes, exactly.
Puking.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
How can people incorporate something like nutritional support into the rest of their lives? I know we touched on at the beginning of this about making space for a new element in our lives. How do you support people through that process?
So again, I have to work with the individual and their routine. Yeah. So if they say, look, lunchtime is just a no-go, I'm always at the office, or I'm here, there, and never in between meetings, I sort of compromise with them. I go, okay, so what can we do? Can we do breakfast? Can we do a really, really good nutritious breakfast? Or can we do a really good nutritious dinner? Can we just get snacks right, potentially? It really does depend on what their schedule is, whether they're working from home, whether it's a bit of a hybrid situation. So, I had a male client last week, and he basically splits his week between London and home in Leicester. And I just said, right, okay, on the day that you go to London, do such and such. And on the day that you're working from home, do, make sure that you're getting a really lovely...
of potential for train snacks there, isn't there?
But this is it. This is exactly it.
My 7-year-old is like, oh, what are we going to get for the train? I'm like, we're only going to be on it 22 minutes. We don't need a deal. But he just associates, like, what are we going to get?
Yeah, absolutely. I know. So that's how I do that. And, honestly, sometimes I think, I was saying to my other friend the other day, I said, you feel like a fraud because you're sort of telling them these things that you think everyone knows, but they don't. So like a protein-filled breakfast, to break that fast overnight, it's so amazing that people are literally just eating cereal or toast.
Yes.
Cereal or toast.
Out. Nothing. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Right, no wonder you're starving an hour and a half later, or no
Yeah.
wonder you feel low and sluggish, and then you want to snack for the rest of the day, you know?
Or the 90s diet of 2 Mars bars on the way to school. Like, what? It's
Oh, I know. And I
yeah.
don't, and honestly, I don't judge them because I did it for so long. Like, I remember going to school, secondary school, and having like, Cheerios. And, I'd be starving at lunchtime. And then I'd, eat my sandwich that was basically all carbs and a bit of ham. And then I'd be coming home and I'd be eating toast at 3 or 4 o'clock because I was just starving again,
Yeah.
you know? So I genuinely, when people go, oh, they have cereal, it really comes from a place where I understand, because that was me.
And that's what we've been told. Like, it's all of those added iron, healthy breakfast, and that particular diet where it's like, just keep eating that same cereal. You're like, but really? That doesn't seem like it's got a fruit or a vegetable in it. And yeah, you're telling me about fruit. Yes. So yeah, there's all of that unprogramming, isn't it? And I think we're all so much more aware now. We just want to ask questions, and we just want to feel good and well. And certainly, our children are coming home from school knowing much more about it. I mean, my eldest said to my mum, like, we don't buy broccoli in plastic, Granny. And she was like, oh God, right. Okay, yeah, of course. My mum was like, I felt like I'd given them a good snack, and then like, oh gosh, like I'm failing again. Not that she was giving them broccoli for a snack, but yeah, not yet, we'll see. Some sort of broccoli cookie. It'll catch on, I'm sure of it. So in terms of your own wellness, because again, there is this thing of finding a way where you can give from a full cup, and sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you have to fake it until you make it, because you've been doing all of the things behind the scenes as well. So what do you do for yourself that makes you feel really great?
So going back to fake it till you make it, definitely during the course when I was studying for those 3 years, there were days there that it was like a beans on toast situation, because
With a
I was
Cheerio sprinkling.
no, I could never do the Cheerios thing. That was where I drew the line. But the beans on toast, I was like sourdough, some beans,
Yes.
some like herbs on top. I'm just dressing it up a bit. But no, there were times like that, and it was because I was obviously, whether it was timing, and I think this is what makes me understand the clients that I see, because I get it. It's not like I've got all this time in my hands to do, and I'm not a full-time creator on Instagram or anything like that. I'm literally running a household, 3 kids. I've got a corporate job, and then I'm doing my nutrition stuff. So I literally so, and I do burn myself out. And sometimes I think, Kayla, you really need to look after yourself and give yourself some time. Mm-hmm. So I tend to so whenever I do the shop, I'm making sure that I'm at least trying to hit about 30 plant foods in my week. Yeah. Because I know when I've ever had a week, and sometimes it happens because sometimes I haven't done the shop, and like my husband does it, and my husband's not interested in nutrition, and he'll just get literally about 2 vegetables, and I know I can feel it when I have not eaten well. Like my body tells me instantly, and it's like I think to myself, how for so many years it wasn't telling me, because it was so used to basically certain things going in.
Yeah.
And then now it's like it goes, right, well, you feel like crap, you've got no energy, you're getting headaches, you just feel sluggish in yourself. What's going on? I haven't eaten, So whenever I'm shopping, I make sure that I'm getting my 30 plant foods, I'm getting some lovely protein in there. So I'm a red meat eater. I eat chicken, I'll eat some salmon, and I'll change it up a bit throughout the week. But a lot for me, it's about my Epsom salt baths and just taking time out for myself. There's so much noise, and I feel like because I'm not constantly in front of the computer doing plans, or I'm on Instagram talking on stories or trying to create content when I have time, and then I have the kids, there's just like no quiet time. So I find that my Epsom salt bath, I also invested in a infrared sauna blanket before Christmas.
Are they amazing? Because I've got my own one.
Yes, they are, and I do that.
You're gonna have to buy one now.
They are, and I try and do that twice a week. And I've got my husband doing it once a week now, so he's like, sort of converted. And yeah, I think it's a mixture of stuff. And also I pray, I have my faith, and I feel like if I don't pray throughout the week, I feel very disconnected.
Yeah.
And I think it's an accumulation of things that I do to try and feel well, because a lot of the time, you know, yes, food is definitely important, but you could be having a very stressful life. You could be having a sick mom that you've got to look after, you know, a boss that's breathing down your neck. And
Yes.
actually, this food bit, yes, it's doing great things maybe for your cellular function, but actually your mental health is struggling now because you've got all this going on. So when, you know, people come and see me, I think they think that it is just about food, but it genuinely is. I look at your lifestyle. I look at things about what you can implement to make things easier, or for coping mechanisms, you know.
Yes.
So I do that. So yes, I do look at your life, and that's, for me, it's a whole picture thing.
Yeah, it's all that thing when you kind of invest or you begin new habits. And a year ago, I started doing hot yoga again, and
Oh, yeah.
it's a chunky investment every month. Where, and again, you have that moment of like, oh, well, maybe I should be spending that on the children or whatever. But I noticed that when I did the mind map, I did well, it's great for flexibility, it's great for detoxification, it's great for just having clarity. And there are some times where I do that sun salutation, and at the end, I'm like, I know what the idea is. I've written the email. And it's those moments in your week that actually are the big, I was sort of explaining it to my partner the other day. It's like they become the foundational pieces of what you need. It's like a plant. You need the right pot. You need to put it near the sunlight. It's all these sorts of things. So if people come and find out more, if they want to find out about your services, if they want to book in with you, where should they go? Or come and look at your like lovely fridge and your lovely food that you made.
So they can find me just kaylasnutrition.com, or they can find me on Instagram, and then through the site they can book a discovery call. Or, you know, I do welcome, a lot of people don't, because they, you know, it's mixing the both. But, you know, if someone wants to drop me a DM and just go, look, you know, I'm thinking about coming to see you, and then I'll just sort of lead them to the website. And essentially that's what I do. And I keep it very relaxed and I think, you know, I've always been a warm person. I'm very approachable, and I want to keep it that way. I'm just, you know, and there are, you know, the other day I shared something on Instagram because someone came to me and said to me, you make this nutrition thing just really manageable, and you just make it like not so perfect. You know, you never do this whole perfect picture thing. And I know that there are some accounts there and influencers, which are great. You know, they're doing their thing. I don't begrudge them of them just trying to make some money and trying to make ends meet and paying their mortgage and getting that, you know, fair play to them. But the image that sometimes they give across is this perfect picture, and it just isn't.
Yes.
You know, and I will always try, and no, I will always keep to that, because my life isn't perfect. The way I eat isn't always perfect, you know, and I live a very 80-20%, you know, 80-20 lifestyle. And that's what I encourage my own clients to do.
Yes.
So
I definitely thought this year when I was thinking about new habits, it's that sense of I'm going to do something more than I don't do it. So with the exercise, I'm going to exercise for more days than I don't. And that shift suddenly of not having to be perfect, not having to have that daily habit, it's taken the pressure off, and suddenly I'm enjoying it much more. And
yeah, exactly.
that's what it's all about. I think, you know, it's
definitely. And I think what I missed out on when you said, you know, what do you do for your own well-being? Like it's movement. And I find that when I started eating well and just finding out about nutrition and how it could help me and my brain health, I then started to work out more. And then working out stopped becoming about my body, and it started becoming about my brain health and my mental health. So now whenever I have like a really busy week and I've barely exercised, I get irritable, I get quite moody, I get quite, and I'm just like,
fun to live with.
Yeah, so much fun, you know. But I do, and I was like, right, get back into exercise. And the minute that first workout after a week, it was like I feel good again, you know.
And
and
we've
also
got children when they're inside, and we all sometimes we lull ourselves into this false sense of like, oh, it's a slow Saturday morning, and then by about 10 o'clock it's like, right, we're going to the park, no more. We're not enjoying this slow Saturday, we all need to move. And it's the same as adults. We become so sedentary, and we just got to move our beautiful bodies sometimes.
Definitely. And also connection as well. Like, I absolutely love my friends, and I think, you know, yes, I love my alone time and my quiet time, but I always find like my cup is just that little bit more full after I've seen my friends.
Yes.
You know, and that's part of the picture as well, about just feeling better in general. So
yeah, it's so good. Well, I'm really hungry, so
you go and eat.
I love these chats. I'm now like, oh, what, yeah. But haven't done a sleep one for a while, because that might send me to sleep. Because last night was musical beds. But no, thank you so much. I will share all of your details down below so people can reach out. But obviously, we'll come and follow you on social media as well, and hang out there too. But thank you so much. And just from an outsider watching that journey of you going, I'm studying and I'm doing that sort of thing, like, to get to the end of that, it's just so inspiring, and you're helping so many people, which is brilliant.
Thank you, and thank you also for having me. So I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, feel free to rate, review, and subscribe for all the brand new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. NickyRaby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices, availability, or just to have a chat with me, go to NickyRaby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests, and I'll see you next time.